Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh, there's one more pig left. We just had a bet that the warthogs are going to leave before we went live. There's lots of other animals out here. This is Safari Live. Ready?
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Well, welcome to the Sunset Safari. My name is Brent Leo Smith, and I've managed to control the giggles. I have Dangerous Dave, the warthog. No, I was going to say the warthog chaser.
Oh, me.
The warthog fiend on camera with me today, and of course we have pale, pasty, and about to be sunburnt Josh from Biome, and we are heading out to see what we can find. It was quite a quiet morning this morning, only Mvula around, and Tristan did say towards the end of drive he saw some female leopard tracks on Cheetah, so we're going to go have a look in that area. And remember to ask questions. Hashtag Safari Live is the best way to get hold of us, so we'd love to hear from you. Now, it is a very muggy day. It is hot, it is humid, it is sticky. But hopefully we're going to find some fantastic wildlife. Now, some of you will know that I've set myself a challenge of 100 bird species before I go on leave. I think I'm on 16. I think there might be a few more I've forgotten, but we are going to try to do that. So we are going to be looking for birds, and if we don't find any birds, we might look for a leopard or two. And no birds there. Is there the back impala? There's an oxpecker. There we go. Which one? Red-billed oxpecker on the back of that impala. Yay! We get to tick number 17. Okay, number 17 on the bird list. So I've decided to stop confusion every time I see one. Yes, we're on 16, so that will be number 17. I have a list making capability on my bird app. So what were we looking for? Oxpecker, red-billed, tick. Yay. Now, let's go see where those leopard tracks were. We're going to just keep heading down towards the east now while we do that. Go see how Madam McCurdy is this safari.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a lovely day out here, of course, in the wilderness. Now, my name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me on this fine sunny day is Lamech, and he is, well, smiling from ear to ear, very happy to be out in the bush with us, which is really wonderful. So it's quite interesting about Brent and his burden. We know it's one of his many hidden talents that one of the things he also loves to do, one of his hobbies. So I think I'm not going to challenge Brent to a competition, though I always know he does love a competition. I prefer birding in the morning. So Brent, I think maybe, I don't know when, next time we are driving together first thing in the morning, we should definitely have a birding competition. But I'm definitely quite keen to see how many birds I can get for the month of March. So I haven't been counting, and what day are we on? Day number 3 or 4 in March? I can't even remember, but we're somewhere near the beginning. So maybe we'll start adding to our bird list. The 4th, yes. So we'll just start adding to our list from today. So we'll start it right here, actually, at that bird, just sitting on the left, just over there. There you go. So just on the right hand side of your screen, and it's, well, rubbing its beak on a dead branch. And if you have a look very, very carefully, you might be able to see it a little bit closer. It is a beautiful European roller. Isn't that lovely? And it's so nice to see these birds at this time of the year because they're starting to look a little bit brighter. I think from the long flight over, they don't look as pretty as what they normally do. They're tired, they're exhausted, their food stores are low. You know, they've used up quite a bit of the fat in their bodies. But as the season, moves along and all the rain comes, with the abundance of insects that it's brought, it also feeds the bellies of these beautiful birds, which I think is wonderful. So there we go. That's our first one to add to the list. And off it goes. Thank you very much. That was perfect. Let's see what else we can find around here. There's some nice long grass. I'm sure we'll see a couple of francolins or spurfowls. And maybe a couple of turtle doves and African hoopoes walking along the road. And I'm sure Tristan would be quite keen to join in on this very placid birding competition. So don't worry, Tristan, if you don't want to challenge Brent, there's nothing wrong with that. You and I can just do a casual one. We'll see what Tristan has to think about that. And well, speaking of Tristan, let's go across to him and see if he's had any luck with finding mvula.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our sunset safari. My name is Tristan, and on camera today I have Craig. Now, Taylor, I am quite keen to participate. I'm always keen for a birding challenge. I know I got absolutely thrashed by Brent last month, but that does not mean that I'm not up for another round, so I most definitely will partake in the challenge. I think on bushwalk it's a little bit more difficult, but we shall try and see what we get. Now, you were mentioning that we're going to try and track mvula this afternoon, so yes, indeed, we're going to try and see if we can head into that area. I'm just coming down Gallagher's shortcut now, and we're getting quite close to that area. And so while we were thinking about tracking and tracks, we came across a rather interesting track, and now I want to see if anybody out there will be able to tell me what this track is. So I'm standing right here, and if I come down, you'll see that there is almost like somebody has taken a cloth and wiped here. Now, if anybody has any guesses, you can send them through to #@SafariLive as to what you think this may be. It is quite a difficult one, so for those of you that are interested in tracking and have gotten a lot of tracks right, I know Taylor did a tracking quiz the other day, but this is quite a tough one. Now, there is a few signs that will give you an indication of what this is, but I'm not going to show you just yet because I want to see if anybody can try and guess it while they are still seeing the harder part of the track. So there is some sort of IDing features that you can utilize, and that is these lines that are running through this. Now, you must remember that this track was made when it was very, very wet, so this would have been from a certain animal that walked here when it was wet and damp. So that's all I'm going to say for now, and those of you who have any idea, like I say, you can send through your answers to #SafariLive on Twitter. But we are in the area now where mvula was seen. He was seen a little bit further to my west here, so we're just going down into this little riverbed section where I lost him. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and follow that riverbed up, because I think with the heat that we've got today, it's about 88 degrees Fahrenheit or 31 degrees Celsius, so it is quite warm, and it feels very humid and very, very sticky. And so what I think is that he should have found somewhere to lay up in this riverbed system. There'll be lots of little trees and thickets, which is perfect for a male leopard to be able to find a place to rest and to take it easy for the day, and then we'll try and see if we can find him a little bit later. Jennifer, you wondering whether the track was made by a porcupine? No, Jennifer, the track was not made by a porcupine. I will give you a hint as to what made it. There is a track here at my feet that maybe you can work out what it is. So if we have a look here, sorry, the ground is very, very hard, so I'm going to try and just do a circle around it. So you can see as I circle that this track is quite large. So you're going to have to think a little bit bigger than a porcupine. It's not from a porcupine itself. With a porcupine, what we would have found is they wouldn't have left that very smooth mark. There would have been definitely those striations or those lines running through the track from the quills, but there definitely wouldn't have been the smoothness underneath. You would have had normal soil or normal sand, and then those little lines would have gone through, and there would have been a dig in more than anything else. So, good guess though. It's not a bad call at all. I'm just checked slowly along. I haven't seen any signs for mvula actually coming out, so I'm sure he's still in here. There we go, Marvin. Well done. It was indeed a hippo. Now, the interesting part about that track was that because it was wet, when the hippo stood, it actually slipped down the road, and so the mud and sand that was on its feet caused those big striations to form, and so it was actually just a slipping hippo. So quite a nice track to see. The other thing that you can sometimes see with hippos, if it's wet or if you're in sandy soil, a slipper, as Lou says. Indeed, Lou, a slipper is a good word for it. Now, in sandy soils or in wet mud like that, sometimes you'll even see the whiskers from his mouth and where the mouth is dragged, and they sometimes leave a very similar print. But well done, Marvin, that's very, very good. And I can actually show you now a very clear hippo track that you'll be able to see what I was talking about. So you can see here, its back foot, or its foot stood like this and then slipped in the mud, and then it got traction there, and there are the toes for the hippo. So nice sort of track for hippos, and a really good start to our tracking exercise this afternoon. Hopefully we'll be able to pick up the tracks for Mvula fairly shortly, and that will allow us to follow his too. Alright, so while we look around for these leopard tracks in the elusive Mvula, let's go across to Brent and see if he's going to take up the bird challenge this afternoon.
Oh, he's just popped his head down. Here we go, a little striated or green-backed heron that's hunting in a pan for frogs. Now, very interesting little birds, and of course number 18 on the list. We're getting there. And they are one of the only bird species known to tool use, as it's called, in northern Botswana, in the papyrus channels of the Okavango Delta. And will actually go catch a grasshopper from the grassland, and then he will use it as bait. He'll pop it down and let it drift down past him, pick it up, do it again till fish come out to try grab the grasshopper, and then he spears the fish with his sharp beak. So very interesting little bird, the striated heron or green-backed heron. Very cool. I'm going to see if we can get a bit closer. And just move so slowly through there. Oh. Quickly, just a nice common one before we move to just tick off the list. The woodlands kingfishers. They're still here. They haven't yet left. Pretty. Oh, he's going to have a drink. Let's see if we can spot this little heron. Oh, look at him. Ah. Move forward a little bit. There we go. Oh, that's what he thinks of us. Here we go, the striated heron, or green-backed heron. Very, very pretty bird. So after frogs and tadpoles here in the little pan, giving his beak a good clean. Those lovely red legs. Shame. Well, let's move away, let him get back to his fishing. So we're just having a quick look around. No sign of any tracks of Hosana or Shongile. We're going to keep searching for birds. While we do that, let's go see how Taylor is doing.
We're still looking for birds. We've had a couple, but we'll have to try and get them on camera again. It looks like a red-crested coron is just up ahead that's darted into the grass. Let's see if we can have a look. They're quite shy birds, so it might flower. It's actually moving very quickly. Can you see it there, Lamek? There it is. Don't run away, birdie. Now you can, just as it's disappearing away, you can see it's not too fond of the vehicles, but this long tall grass does help it hide away quite easily. Now it's actually going underneath a bush willow at the moment, which is a really good hiding spot, because along with the long grass is also a dark shadow. So if that bird were to stand underneath that big tree, you can just see the darkness under there. It would become completely invisible, and it's nice and cool on a hot summer's day like today. But there we go, bird number 2, a red-crested coron. Wasn't the best sight of it, but at least you got to see it just enough that you could see that it indeed was a coron. They're beautiful birds. And look at it, gone, completely lost in that tall long grass. Let's keep moving. Let's see if we can spot another one. I'm sure we will definitely be able to find a couple more birds around here. I can see, it's a bit far away. There's a drongo, a fork-tailed drongo. I think it's too far. But, Lamek, can we have a look at the top of the tree just up over there? Yes, you can just see it. Go up to the left. Keep going to the left. At the left. Back to the dead tree. Keep going. There we go. If you go top right, well spotted. Who do we have sitting up there? From a distance, it looks like a Cape turtle dove. The way that it's just preening its feathers. But it is very, very difficult to tell from this distance. So you can't see the red eye. And also, well, you can't really tell how big it is either, can you? It's a bit difficult. The red-eyed dove is a lot bigger than the turtle dove. But just from here, I would say a good guess. We see more turtle doves than we do red-eyed doves. So there we go. That's another one for the list. I'm surprised it's managing to hold on. There's quite a breeze at the moment. You can see those branches blowing around. But it seems to have a very good footing at the moment. Hello. Should we see what else we can find? Let's see how many birds we can get in just this short little area. We won't go too far. Let's check around here. Come on, where the spur fowls and the franklins and the guinea fowls that absolutely love this area. We might actually even have a better luck a little bit later. As it starts to cool down, you'll see the birds get a little bit more active as well. When it cools down, let me see. Nothing just yet. Now this is the hard part. You got to look up in the trees. You got to look down on the ground, because like you just saw the korhaan. It's also a predominantly ground-dwelling birds. Come on, birdies. I can just see one butterfly buzzing about. I can't believe it. This road has got nothing. It's outrageous. We'll have to report it. We will have to indeed report it. I don't know to who, but we will. Project Alpha. Now you were wondering, and you said it'll be interesting to see the decline in birds as we come into winter. I think so. I think that'll be very interesting to watch. We're definitely going to start to lose the migratory birds already. We're not seeing as many cuckoos anymore. I saw the other day, but 2 days ago, I briefly saw a great spotted cuckoo. I've seen the odd Levalence and Jacobin, but they're not out and calling like they were. And no black cuckoos, no more calling of them. So they've already obviously started heading back. Who else are we going to lose? Oh, there's so many that we are going to lose. But the cuckoos are definitely going to be noticeable. And then another one that's very noticeable is the woodland kingfisher. That should also be going, I think, about by the end of this month, April, around there. I think we're going to stop seeing, or stop hearing at least, the woodland kingfishers. And that should be another one we should easily be able to see. Well, I just heard one calling, but it sounds like it's very, very... No? Where are you? I can hear it. Let's see if we can hear it again. Yes, just called now. It stopped calling, typical. It called once and then it stopped. Let's go up a bit further. I think it's still quite far up ahead. Can you believe it that as we're driving in, normally we see lots of birds just moving around on the roads. The odd starling, I haven't seen one starling yet. like I said, saw that drone go from far away, but that doesn't count. Oh my goodness. Maybe we're gonna have to go towards some water. I think that's what we're gonna have to do. Just trying to see the tops of these shrubs. Hard work trying to see these different birds. I think we're edging closer to where that kingfisher was calling from. They love to sit on the marula trees under the shady leaves. And I can't see why there aren't any birds around here. There's many butterfly and grasshoppers jumping out of the grass. Here, yes, we're going to get this kingfisher. It's getting closer, I can hear it. Now I've just got to spot it. There it is. Okay, great. I'm going to get it for you now. No! Come back! It flew far, far away. I thought it was going to land on this knobthorn, but it didn't. It went to the next set of knobthorns just at the back, which is such a pity. Aww. Oh goodness. We're not really having much luck with birds, are we, this afternoon? It seems as though we're not having luck with mammals either. I suppose that's because of the breeze that we've got pulling through. Now I wonder how Tristan is doing on his bird list on this fine afternoon, but I know he seems to be taking a break from birding at the moment. He's still doing some tracking.
We are indeed, so we haven't been concentrating too much on birds. There has been a few calling, but nothing too much that we can put on camera. So we're still looking for Mvula. I'm now here in the spot where I had him this morning and where I last had visual of him and last saw him moving around. And he was just off to my western side here, so he was moving around in this very thick stuff. So Rexon's gone onto the one side of the drainage line, and I've come on through just to see if there's any tracks on this sandy section here, to see if maybe he's crossed back towards Galago shortcut or towards WildEarthTV, or if he's carried on towards the access road. So I'm hoping that he's lying somewhere in here. This is where I think he might be lying. It is nice and shady, but I tell you what, it is exceptionally hot inside here. There's very little wind to speak of. It's not like where we were just now out on the road where there was a nice breeze blowing. In here it feels sticky and humid, so maybe he's going to have found himself a termite mound in this general vicinity that he can lie up where there will be at least a little bit of a breeze, because otherwise he's going to be a very, very, very hot cat. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go through here, and like I say, we're checking on any signs of the sandy section for his tracks. Now obviously there will be tracks from this morning where I had him, because he came down and he walked straight up like this and he went to this Tamboti thicket here where he was sniffing around, and then from there he went around to a jackalberry where he met up with a hyena. So I'm wondering if maybe he hasn't come back towards this thicket where there's lots of nice shade. It's also a little bit more raised than where we're standing right now, so it could be that he's maybe found a nice shady area here. So we're definitely going to look quite carefully and see. Now, when you're in thickets like this and you're tracking leopard, it's important to stay nice and quiet so that you can hear what's going on, as well as to pay attention and not look just down at the ground. Obviously, it's important to be looking for his footprints, but more you want to be looking around in your surroundings. This morning, when we had him, he lay down at one point and he was almost invisible. And so when you're walking, you want to be able to look around to make sure that if he is in front of you somewhere, that you spot him before you get too close and cause him to have to either get up and move, or to be upset and to charge at you. So it's always very important to stay focused in these kind of areas and really check very carefully as to where you think he might be lying. It's also another thing is, all the best trackers I've worked with, they tend to have this sixth sense about where an animal's going to go, and particularly leopards, they like to know where they would be hiding if they were a leopard, and they're always able to kind of pick up on those sort of intricate little signs and look in those areas, and generally the really good ones do it very, very well. Now, just trying to see where he went, because from there he came along and then he came up this ridge and then through here. Now, this morning when I lost him, he was coming back in this general direction, so I wanted to check all along here and just see if there's any sign. Rexon's, like I said, gone a little bit further west of me just to see if he can see anything from where I last saw him, which is that big jackalberry that we had earlier. So I'm just going to go slowly along and see what we can find. Now, in the distance, since we're talking about birds, I can hear a emerald spotted wood dove calling, and it's doo, 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 doo. It's such a beautiful call. It's one of those calls that you hear early in the morning, just as that sun is rising, and it's one of my favorite calls. It's a very hollow sound, but as I talk about it, it's now stopped, which is not ideal for when it comes to our birding challenge, because unfortunately bird calls don't count on our birding challenge, so we have to actually spot. Daniel, you want to know what my favorite bird is? I've got quite a few. I struggle with this. I tend to jump around a little bit, but I think my favorite is probably the crowned eagle. That's the bird that I really love to see the most. We do get them here very, very seldom. Unfortunately, where we are in Djuma is not the best place. If you go a little bit further to the west and you go towards the Manyeleti River, you get massive jackalberry trees and leadwoods along the riverbanks, and that's a really good place for the crowned eagle to spend time. It's more of a forest thicket bird than it is an open savanna, but they really are one of my favorites. They are massive with these huge talons, very, very pretty bird, and very, very powerful. They'll hunt monkeys and small mammals like duiker or steenbok, so very, very powerful with these huge talons that when they come down, they just dig them in and they're able to do a lot of damage. And in fact, actually, one of the first sort of signs of life was found in the cradle of humankind, which is near Johannesburg, so one of our ancestors, and they believe that that ancestor was killed by one of these birds of prey, probably something like a crowned eagle with a talon that went into its skull. So you can imagine how strong those birds are. Right, so we're going to carry on focusing now that we're in this area to see what we can find, and while we do that, let's go back to Taylor and see how her birding's going.
We have a lilac-breasted roller, and we actually watched it swoop down right in front of the vehicle. I actually had to apply the brakes a little bit, and it didn't pick up. It snatched up a beetle, but I don't know if it's eaten it already, because we watched it land, and then it didn't have its beetle anymore. So I don't know if it dropped it, perhaps when it perched itself. Maybe it didn't have as graceful landing as I thought it did. Oh, but that's a bit sad. It would have been really, really nice to have seen that roller feast upon that very juicy beetle. I don't know what beetle it was, but it looked quite large. It may have actually even been a two-spot beetle. It was that big. Right, let's go down. Now, this is quite a nice area around here. We're going to go to Twin Dams as well. Now, as we drive along here, there's always a lot of hornbills around. We see babblers. I'm not sure what else, we might get lucky in the saddle at Twin Dams. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm hoping we'll get some water birds. Now, Linda, you are wondering why is that bird called a roller? It's really amazing. If you ever get the chance, it's actually something quite difficult to capture on camera, is the way that they fly. So not just their normal flying, but when they display, they'll fly right up high, and they make a lot of noise. They're very vocal when they do this. And then as they came down, they do this, and it almost looks like they're rolling. And it's the most amazing movement. They go quite low to the ground and then they swoop back up again. It's really impressive to see. So Linda, that's where the rollers get their name from. They're also incredibly delicate when they are snatching things, because they don't just catch things on the ground, they're also able to catch them out of the air like bee eaters, which is really, really magnificent. And that's the other thing I'm going to miss a lot is as we come into winter, is we're going to miss out on all of this insect life. The grasshoppers are going to become fewer. They're not going to be as many butterflies around, just because there's not as much food, and then of course the weather's a little bit cooler too. But there's a couple of insects around still, but just not too many. Those are the termites. You across to Brain very quickly. The gremlins are attacking
on cheetah cut lines. Okay, so I've just been on the radio. I found those leopard tracks Tristan saw this morning. They've gone slightly further the west into this block here. So I'm just going to check the whole of cheetah cut line first, make sure that they don't pop out again. I think it's Karula, Hassana and Shungile, but the tracks have been driven over, which makes it a little bit more difficult. This is also the area where we might get lucky with that mating pair of lions. And of course, we will keep birding. I saw some birds up ahead. Dave, hold on. Where are they going? They're flying away from us, Dave. There. There we go, a flying banana. And of course, the real name is not flying banana, it is a yellow-billed hornbill. And one of our more common species. You can see it's really hot and humid today. So when hornbills have their mouths open like that, it means he's breathing. Now he's actually, if you watch the inside of his throat, it's moving quite quickly. And that's called a gula flutter. And that is, Dave, is a gula flutter a funny word?
That's the way you said it, yeah.
A gula flutter is a funny word. David thinks it's hilarious. David, I worry about you sometimes. And it's basically an increased breathing that helps them cool down by bringing air over the tongue and other blood vessels in the mouth. Gula flutter, Dave. Okay, let's continue on. Just making sure there's nothing down the roads. Oh, it is a very strange day. I was wondering whether we're going to get some rain, but I don't think so. Maybe tomorrow. As I said, I don't mind if it rains as much as it wants after the 12th. Now, JC Charles is wondering how many seasons does South Africa have, and oh, I'm trying to listen to an update from the east. Sorry. What landed on my face? Andres. Afternoon, Andres. What was that update about Karula? Okay, copy, thanks. So maybe this isn't Karula, or maybe it's just Karula and Shongile, because apparently Hosana was seen to the south of us in the Mawati River at 12 o'clock. Interesting. JC Charles was asking how many seasons there are in South Africa, and well, theoretically they're 4, but not practically. They're 2 practically. We got wet and hot, and cold and dry. So we don't have fall really. I mean, you'll see the trees change and stuff, but it's a far more short and sharp change between the seasons than it is in the northern hemisphere. Nope. No sign of anything. Okay, I was hoping we might also catch a bird party up on the Crest Channel. A bird party is a group of different species of birds that like to headbang together. No, they feed together. There's a couple of different reasons. They will feed on different things, so they fill different trophic levels, but they're there. The more eyes, the easier it is to spot snakes and birds of prey and other predators. So bird parties can sometimes consist of 15 or 16 different species. So of course, if we're trying to get to 100 species of birds, a bird party is a good party to attend. And speaking of parties, Tristan's girlfriend Ali, it's her birthday today, and her and Jamie are having a combined party with a Mexican theme this evening, so we get nachos. Yes. But while I think about nachos, let's go back to Taylor, see what she's up to.
Friends, I hope you enjoy that cheesy situation. Because I just laugh at all my own jokes. Yes, and actually I'm quite interested about the bird party that you were talking about. There's one, speaking of birds. How are we going to see it though? Wait. There are many birds flying here now. Haha, we may have ourselves a bird party. Yes. Can you see them sitting there, Lamek? I'm going to just go forward. It's eating a worm, that one on the bottom branch, or a grasshopper. So if you go zoom straight in where you are now, a little bit down, keep going, there you go, it's on your bottom left hand corner. It looks like a yellow-billed hornbill. It's just moving around. You might have to go in a little bit closer to be able to have a look at it. It's just right there on your bottom. It's jumping up to the left-hand side of your screen. Can we take a closer look, please? There it is, it's hopping. There we go, just on the left. There's a couple of them. Okay, that's not a problem. So those are the yellow-billed hornbills that you can see hopping away all throughout that tree. They're just there on the bottom. There you go, bottom left-hand corner. Go to the left a little bit. Left, other left. Go down. Okay, no, it's fine. Let's find something else. Let's go and have a look at another bird then. But we got them. That's all that counts. Those were yellow-billed hornbills. And they were munching away, eating on all the different things around here. So it wasn't just a bird party, a mixture of bird parties, as I'm sure Brent was talking about. That was just a group of hornbills flushing out some insects together. And often you'll see them doing that, sitting on the floor, whether they're picking up termites that are coming out of their little holes, or if they're just sitting in the grass. And as they move around, very much like a rhino or a buffalo or an impala moves through the grass, they start disturbing quite a few insects. Saw something else flying around here. Let's see, there's not much out today, unfortunately. We did see one steenbok bobbing through the long grass, and then that ran away. They never really stay for camera, sadly. You've got to be super lucky. Here's a great spotted cuckoo. Let me straight in this bush willow, you can see it. You'll have to be very quick with this one. That is quite a cool cuckoo to see, and I was telling you about them earlier. Is calling, and how I've been seeing them, but I haven't really been seeing too many other cuckoos. But there it is. Isn't that lovely? And what a beautiful bird to see, actually, just sitting in amongst those all of those leaves, getting some shade. You can see it had its beak wide open, as are most of the birds today, because they're just trying to keep nice and cool. But with this breeze that we have, it does help them a little bit. There is a bit of a nip in the air, which is quite lovely. So maybe we're expecting a bit of rain later, but I think that is wishful thinking on my behalf. This is so cool. But now it's hiding its head. Now let's see if I can get a better view. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer. I don't know, it's probably going to fly away, but we'll creep up to it slowly. Let's creep up to it, just so we can see its head. Don't fly away. Look, it's actually sitting still. I'm going to pretend like I'm going past. Look at it. Look at this good view. That's fantastic. I know there's a tiny little stick, but we are so close to this bird. I think this is the closest I've ever been before. Hello, beautiful. And I wonder if it's not a juvenile, because I've seen it a lot before, where you surprisingly can get quite close to young birds. You might not realize it at first, and they're sort of not quite afraid of us just yet. I've actually seen it with a collared sunbird, which is the sunbird. It's just hopped up a little bit higher. I think that's the end of our view. I think it's just out of reach, but that's okay. We'll carry on. Thank you for that. Great spotted cuckoo. So as I was saying, I had this really amazing experience once with the collared sunbird, which is a beautiful sunbird. It's green and yellow and very small, as they all are, and they were coming down and they were feeding on the aloes. Here's some hornbills. We've now got the other one. So we had the yellow-billed, and we'll see. Don't fly away. No, naughty birds. There they go, up to the top of the silver cluster leaf. Those are the red-billed hornbills. And this little collared sunbird, I walked past and it didn't fly away. So I obviously naturally took a couple of steps back to take a closer look, and I realized that it was a little one. And I was able to get such an amazing picture of it just on my mobile phone, because it wasn't frightened. I took 1 or 2 pictures and then I moved off again. But that was really nice to see, and that's what makes me think that cuckoo, because a cuckoo, you know how difficult it is to get the cuckoos on camera. They sit there for 1 second on their perch, and then as soon as they know they've been spotted, off they go and hide away in a thicker, maybe a more leafy branch, or drop down into the grass like we saw that korhaan going to. They'll hide under there, but not the hornbills. They've also got their mouths open today. They're also nice and warm. I don't even know how many birds we're on now. We must be on about 6, at least 6 so far. But they're also snacking up in this long grass. There's another one. There are lots of them there. There's a whole group of them. So it might even be some juveniles as well. And are all feeding together with the adults. Louise, can you tell me the name of which eagle were you talking about? Ah, bigger. Ah, okay. So, Jean, you are wondering if bigger eagles would try and eat something like a hornbill. Yes, definitely. I think if there was an opportunity, they would do so. And that's what we must remember about nature, is that, and especially if you're I'm trying to think, like an opportunistic feeder, which I suppose most predators are, is if there's an opportunity, regardless of what type of bird it is, if the eagle is big enough, it's going to go forward. And that's with anything. It's like a crocodile. It will snatch anything it can, even if it's a person. It will go for a human, which is actually one of the few, and crocodiles are actually one of the few animals out there that look at humans like food, which is, I think, pretty scary. Them and polar bears always makes me a bit nervous, but they'll just go for whatever they can get. It's like I've seen a jackal buzzard, which looks, how do I describe it? It looks like a steppe buzzard, and, well, very similar. Jackal buzzard, slightly larger and much prettier. It's got sort of rufous colors on it. Let me see if I can show you a photo. And I once saw a jackal buzzard scavenging on a massive kabelio, which is a fish that you find in the Eastern Cape on the Kariga River. Let me open my app for you very quickly. I'll show you. Now, this is the fun part. This is where I have to open the app and then try and get it to work properly. Let's see. Right. Field guide. And what are we looking for? Buzzard. Let's go to B. There you are, and the jackal buzzard should be here. Nope. Where are you? No, of course, this is now the hardest thing to do. Let's go. There we go. I've got it. Now I'm going to show you a picture. Let me find a goodie. There we go. That's actually a really good one. Now you just got to try and get the angle right. You might have to go in a little bit closer, Lamek. There we go, and you'll eventually see it. It's just slightly out of focus. There is the jackal buzzard. It's a bit difficult to see, unfortunately, but it's got, well, I'll pop it away. I'll take it back. I'm gonna, that's okay, there we go. So that is the jackal buzzard, but it's beautiful. It's got one of my favorite birds. It's got the rufous reds on it, the blacks, the whites, and it was scavenging on a fish, and they're not normally known to eat fish, but this one was. But we're catching up, we're getting there. It might take us a little bit to get into the swing of things, the spotting birds. But Tristan must be sweating up a storm in this humid day that we're having on this afternoon. Should we go back across to him and see that he's not melting in the sun?
Well, Taylor, I can tell you now, we are melting. It's very, very humid, and both Craig and I are sweating quite a bit. But we have good news, which is that we have found the tracks for Mvula. So we followed all the way through that thicket, which was absolutely horrible. As you can see behind me, it is like a wall of trees. And we thought we'd just come and check towards the main road to be able to see if he's come out. And luckily, we managed to pick up where he has been. So if we have a look here, I've circled the tracks for you, and it's really quite nice because we've got two very distinct tracks here. We've got this track at the back, which is a very rounded track, so if you had to draw a circle, you would get a nice round appearance, and then at the back here is a more oval track. Now this is his two different feet. So this is the front foot, the big round one is the front foot, and then this is where his back foot has stepped as he's been moving. Now this is pretty typical of a leopard. It means that he was moving quite quickly. Generally they will direct register, which means that the front foot will step and the back foot straight over the top of it, but as they start to move a little bit quicker, so the back foot then comes forward. Now the reason why we also know that this is a male track, which is a nice trick to use when tracking leopard, is that on their back pads here, so you can see we've got these two lobes that stick off the side. Now, on a female leopard, it will be a slightly different shape. So with a male, if you take your piece of grass and you go and you follow the edge like this, it will always bring you back into that area and make a circle. With a female track, you'll end up with a situation, if this is her back of her pad, like that, there will be a very angular section, so that if you took a piece of grass and you followed round, your grass stalk would go outside the track and not back into it. So that's always a good way to be able to utilize a method to find out male or female track. It's quite an interesting one. You obviously get a little bit of anomalies where it will be not as clear as what Mbula's is, but generally it works really well to identify male and female. Now, he is walking straight up Vuyatela access, which is not ideal for us because it is a very busy road. So there will be a number of vehicles that would have come up and down here, and we can see his tracks have actually been squashed by quite a few cars. So it means that he walked here probably, I would say, this morning after we lost him, maybe he carried on towards this area. So it's going to be quite a long effort to follow him. I think generally from here, if he follows a normal pattern of what we've seen with him, which is really anyone's guess at the moment because he's no longer territorial, so he doesn't really have a normal pattern, but generally from here he's going to start heading towards Simambili, which means he'll go towards a road called One-Eyed Pan, which is a little bit northwest of where we are now, and if he follows this road straight, it'll take him pretty much there. So we're going to try and see if we can follow up on these tracks and keep going on them and see if maybe we can find where he's gone. Now, I'm hoping that given the heat, like I say, that he's found an area where he can just lie down and relax, and we'll be able to find him under a bush somewhere, or even better on a big termite mound in a shady tree. But I see Rex has carried on, so Rex carried on following the tracks while I was pointing them out to you, and he's still going up the road, so much easier to follow Rexon's tracks than it is the male leopards. Rexon has a much bigger boot than what Mbula does. Alright, so like I say, we're going to carry on going and see where these tracks take us. At the moment, straight down the middle of the road, which is really nice. And so hopefully he continues and then just lies somewhere close to the road, and it'll make it very easy for us. So while we do that, let's see how Brent is doing and how he's going with the bird challenge.
Well, the bird challenge is a bit slow. There don't seem to be many birds on the crest at the moment, but I have got a report that quarantine might be on Cheetah Plains, so off we steam. And so these tracks of Karula actually turn around, head back south again, so I heard they've just found her to the south of our boundary, but she could definitely might come across later on, so maybe on our way home we'll have a look around Twin Dams. And in the meantime, we're going to shoot to Cheetah Plains. Firstly, because quarantine's there, and we all love quarantine. Well, hopefully he's there. Ah, who's that now? Is that Taylor? What is Taylor doing here? Let's go to Cheetah Plains and see what we can find. Hi, bye. Hi, bye. Here we go, there's Taylor. Bouncy bounce. Okay, so we do have to cross the Mowanini River shortly, and that is a known gremlin site. They seem to live in the deep areas, the damp areas, the cool areas. And fortunately they don't come out of those deep, damp, cool areas too often. We're about to cross the crest now. Okay, well, we just saw Taylor, so let's go see what she's up to.
Hang on, I wonder, I think these, no, they just flew away. There were some, oh, that's such a pity. There were two doves just sitting perfectly on a broken branch, but so typical as you see them and you spot them, then they fly away. And I was thinking if it was maybe those turtle doves that were nesting on Cheetah Cutline. Let's see if I can remember exactly where that nest was. Maybe we'll be able to find it again, just to do a quick checkup, seeing as though it's probably one of the last nests we'll see this year. I think it was here somewhere. I've just got to check very, very carefully. Sure it was on this one. Wish my old tracks were still here, then we'd be able to see it nicely. Let me just go forward. No, I don't think it's there. Okay, let's That was a tricky one, and I didn't save a pin like I normally did, which was silly of me. That'll teach me. We'll keep going up here very slowly though. I'm sure we'll spot it again. I don't know, that tree just looks so familiar. Unless that nest has been blown out, which wasn't a possibility. Doves don't make the greatest nests. It's sort of these stick nests, but they're not very, it's not a very neat cup nest. I don't know, well, sort of. But I think that there are other birds that are much better at making nests than the doves. They're a little bit untidy. No, I think that was the tree. Let's just try one look at this bush willow. But I don't think it was this one. No, I think it was the one that we just passed, but I don't think that it exists anymore, because remember we didn't see it initially, and then once we watched that dove pick up a stick likely to where the female was sitting on the eggs, it was quite easy to spot her. But it wasn't in that on the left hand side of the tree. Maybe it was this one. We'll just keep checking. We'll check all the bush wallows. No, this is very difficult to spot with all of these leaves. Okay, that's not going to work. Okay, we'll leave it. We'll just have to stumble across Mr. and Mrs. Turtle Dove one day soon. Hopefully they will lead us directly to the tree as they did. Wow, Lily, that's a good question. Lily, you're wondering if a really, really, really big bird would go for a small child. I remember watching a YouTube sensation video about, I think it was a golden eagle snatching a kid up, but I believe that it was fake, that it wasn't actually a real video. I stand and corrected. I never know these days with all of the nonsense that goes on the internet. I don't think so. Oh my goodness, I don't know what that kid would have to be completely on its own. I mean, even just the sound that a baby makes sometimes I think would deter a bird. If a baby were to cry, that would attract predators if it was out here in Africa, the hyenas, lions, leopards and things like that, but I don't know if it would attract a bird so much. I don't think so. I'm gonna go with no. And Louisa's just told me that Megan, who has just started with us at Wild Earth, was saying that her mom was actually quite scared that an eagle would fly over and snatch her up, which I think is it's actually quite cute, don't you think? No, but I don't think so, Lily. I think that, I don't know if there's any eagles big enough to snatch up a baby, an infant, yes, but the chances of that happening are so slim. I don't think it's very possible. It's a tough one to say. I suppose anything is possible, isn't it? But a very, very small chance, and I think you'd have to be exceptionally unlucky to have something like that happen to you. I'm sure it must be like 1 in 100 million chance of getting snatched up, a baby being snatched up by a bird. I think that's unlikely. There's no birds today. We're going to have to resort to talking about plants in a moment. We have to go into detail about the grasses, won't we? The birds are hiding away from me today. I have not seen one animal except that duiker, the steenbok that went darting through the long grass. I suppose it's my chance now to have a lull with the animals and birds. It happens. You can ask any safari guide, is that for a couple of weeks in a row you will have the best sightings of your life. You'll be the luckiest person in camp, seeing the most incredible things, big things, small things, you name it. And then you'll go through a patch of about 2 weeks. I always found it was about 2 weeks when I was guiding, where just everything was an absolute mission to find, or you weren't the one finding them, it was always other people finding them, which also gets to a guide's ego every now and then, and when you sit to yourself and you think, what's wrong with me? Why can't I find anything today? But I'm having a couple of those days. We're probably going to try and go past the Chitwa Dam and have a look and see if we can find anything there. We've got to see though if Jigga can hold its signal, because she's being naughty lately. So we'll try, and if not, then we'll have to send Brent there. I'm sure he won't mind going to see the hippopotamus and all the birds there. He'll probably add quite a few birds to his list. But I know Brent is actually going to Cheetah Plains for quarantine. Apparently quarantine is somewhere around there, which is nice, but I know you can always pop past on the way back, because the best time to go to that dam is, well, just before sunset, isn't it? We always see the most action. It's always quite lovely. Yes, there's not much going on today. Where is anything? Let's see if we can get a steenbok in here. You've got to look so carefully. Maybe we'll get lucky. We've seen a chameleon before on this road run across the road in front of us. Remember, with David and I, and then it completely vanished into thin air and we didn't manage to relocate it again. I'm going to keep searching. My eyes are peeled, my ears are out and they're listening. My nose is sniffing to see if it can smell any animals, and hopefully I'll have some luck. But let's jump back on board, well, into Craig's backpack and join him on a bushwalk.
Well, we did have a little velvet ant which has now decided to disappear. So inside this little thicket here is a velvet ant somewhere in here. Craig, did you see where it went? No. I'm being quite careful because a velvet ant has got a nasty... Oh, there it goes. It's coming out into the open, so there it is. And you can see this one is not the biggest one, but it is highly, highly energetic. It is moving around at a rate of knots, and that's probably because it's seen two hunking great men walking down the road, and it's now trying to find somewhere to hide out. Now, as I was saying, you've got to be a little bit careful with them because they have quite a nasty sting on them. It really is very, very long. So if you had a look at that abdomen, the stinger actually comes out almost the entire length of that abdomen and comes out and then goes into you, and it's very, very painful. And then once the pain goes away, it becomes very, very itchy. It's horrible. It's like a tick bite. You can't stop scratching it, and it stays for weeks. I remember I got stung by one, and I think it lasted maybe 6 weeks, the bump and the itchiness. It was horrible. But it is part of the wasp family, so even though it's called a velvet ant, it is part of the wasp family, so they are not actually ants. But with our tracking, we've decided to come down and just check. It seems like his tracks crossed off vertical axis and they came down towards this power lines road that we're on now. So we're just checking very, very carefully along these power lines just to see if we can find any tracks. It's really very difficult to see the tracks in the bush itself. You can see how long the grass is, so where he's walked is very, very difficult. So I think it's hectare, that's right, Lou. You want to know whether animals use other animals' tracks. Well, cake tear, is that right? Take care, take care, sorry. It's coming through a little bit soft. Take care, sorry about that. But you asked whether other animals will utilize tracks to be able to find one another or to use them to track the other animal down. Well, they do. If you watch lions, you'll find lions will sometimes follow either their own tracks to find the rest of the pride, or they will follow buffalo tracks. You often see a lion going with its nose to the ground, and then it picks up buffalo tracks and buffalo dung, and it is able to then locate on that herd. They'll also use the sound that the buffalo make to find them, but a lot of animals will scent from the track that is left behind, and you'll find things like lion and leopard often scraping their back legs while they urinate, and so there is a scent that gets put onto their feet, and as they're walking they're carrying that scent with them as they go. So there are those uses for it, but the actual footprint and the shape of the footprint, no, I don't think any of them actually recognize that, oh, here is a lion track. It's more a scent than anything else. Alright, so we're going to carry on seeing if we can find Mvula. He's making us work quite hard, which is good. Burn off the calories that we're going to have in our nachos and Mexican party this evening. And while we do that, let's go across to Taylor, who's got some feathered friends.
I'll come back, fork-tailed drongo, there it is. It's flying around on this very soft, sandy road, and I haven't quite seen what it's catching just yet. But as most of you know, these are amazing birds, the fork-tailed drongos. They are super intelligent. They can mimic other birds, as they call, and even other mammals too. It looks like they're going after flies, doesn't it? Because every now and then you'll see, wait till you see what it does. It sort of flies around, then flutters around the grass, does a bit of a up and down circle around, then lands again and munches on something very small. So I wonder if it's not going for those small biting flies. You often see them sitting down on the sand too. And something like a drongo, there's very few birds out there that are capable of catching flies. They're so swift and really, really quick. Speaking of flies, there's one that just bobbed past your screen. I'm sure you saw that very quickly. But they are very cool birds. Look at that. Oh, no, there it is. It's a grasshopper. There's a grasshopper on the ground. It's going to get it now. It's just to the right of them, I think. I don't know if they've seen it. Let's see if it goes back for that. Or maybe that's something else that just got knocked out of the leaves. But at a minute, I thought it was... There we go. No? Oh, that's obviously nothing then. That must be a piece of grass inflorescent or something that had fallen off. That's a pity. I thought it was a grasshopper that they had knocked out of the grass. That would have been incredible. There's also a Cape glossy starling running around. Hello, starling. No stranger. These birds often hang around together because they both do the same thing. They both follow mammals, and as they move through the grass, as I was saying earlier, when they disturb insects, it's a quick, easy meal for these birds to swoop up and catch them. Rather than having to flush out the insects themselves, it sort of lightens the workload a little bit. Birds, you're not having much luck this afternoon, though. Only catching little things. And I'm sure both of them would prefer to have a nice, juicy grasshopper or a praying mantis. That'd be another one. But I love the way that drongo is hopping around on the ground, which is lovely. Oh no, we're going to have to get a saguaro branch. The biting flies are back. They've just bit me twice. They're in trouble. Hello guys, there we go. See, it's flatting. What are you doing? Wow. There we go. We caught something. Maybe we can take a closer look and see what it's eating. Oh, another one's just landed. So this is a popular area. Actually, a roller has just landed. Can we go back to the middle of the road? Pretty much in line with that drongo. There we go, just to the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. If you zoom out a little bit and go to the left. There we go. There's a European roller that's joined this little bird party too, and it also was eating on something just a minute ago. It looked more like a butterfly. And off it flies. Not hanging around. Just popping in for a very, very quick visit. The drongo's back though. Starling, you might be outnumbered here. I think that the drongo's doing a better job than you are at the moment, but it doesn't really surprise me. They're not as graceful flyers as the drongo and the roller. They really aren't acrobats in the sky. They need to catch, I think, the slower moving things. Did I ever tell you the story? I think I have. When I was in the Eastern Cape, and unfortunately there weren't very many red-billed oxpeckers. They went extinct in the late 1800s due to types of pesticides that they were dipping cattle with, and eventually it affected the ticks, and then it indirectly affected the oxpeckers, so they all were wiped out. And I watched the most amazing thing. It's almost like the Cape glossy starling started filling the roles of the yellow-billed oxpeckers, because they were flying up and trying to hover as much as they could, but luckily for them, the Eastern Cape, there's lots of wind, so it helped them a bit, and they'd fly up to a giraffe's backside and actually pull off the fully engorged ticks. Now, I haven't seen many things like that, and I specifically saw it on this game reserve that I was working at, so I don't know if it was unique to that specific area, but the Cape glossy starlings love to feast on the big engorged ticks that they would remove. They would physically pull off of a giraffe, which I thought that was so exciting. Brent has been zooming around, and he has zoomed all the way to Cheetah Plains. He got there very quickly. Let's go and see if he's got a surprise for you.
We've just arrived in the area where quarantine could be, but I noticed a blackjack plant. Now, as kids, these are great fun because they're spears that stick into people's clothes. So I've been sparing Dave, but now he has to use the camera, so he can't block me.
Oh, yes, I can.
Oh yes! Direct hit.
Nah, it didn't stick.
Didn't stick. That one stuck.
No, it didn't.
Dave, your focus is soft because we're teaching people about how you can stick people with blackjack seeds. So of course this is one of the methods of dispersal for this plant. So as they get older, they become even more sticky. There we go. And they explode out. You can see the blackjacks there. So those are the young ones, and the adult, or not adult, the sort of ones that have come to full term, where you'd have, I think it's there, a little bit to the right. There we go, down a bit. There we go. Now those are the most irritating things when you walk through the bush. They get stuck in your clothes, in your socks, in your hair. So that's the way the blackjack disperses its seeds, by sticking into things. Here we go. And they're just fun to throw at your cameraman. And I've got one more left. Oh, they're all over him. Okay, let's go find a leopard now. The other fun thing to do to Dave, because he's got really long hair, is you get a piece of panicum grass, works best, and when he's not watching, you just twist it into his hair and it really gets knotted.
Your hair's not very tall.
I know, but I can see behind me because I've got a monitor. But yeah, so we do lots of fun things. Well, I think they're fun. Cameraman, maybe not so much. Remember, if you want to ask us any questions, hashtag Safari Live. Okay, hello, hyena tracks. No leopard tracks. So apparently, our neighbours to the north were out cutting grass in the middle of the day, and they saw Quarantine sleeping on the Cheetah plain side. And I was trying to get hold of Mike, who came down here to look, but I haven't heard anything from him. Let's try again. Shanae. See if Shanae knows where it was. Mike. So this is Kalko. Mike, do you know exactly where Quarantine was supposed to be sleeping? Copy, have you checked here yet? Okay, copy, thanks. So Mike is checking opposite us here, but apparently he was lying somewhere within this area here. Now, of course, all he has to do is go flat and he'll vanish at the moment. So let's hope he's climbed a tree. I think let's check. I think I know where to check. I think if I was quarantined, where would I go? I've got an idea. I think we're gonna just check Cheetah Plains pan quickly, but there is so much water around, it's unlikely you'd walk all that way just for a bit of water. Well, just to get it off the list quickly while we're hunting for leopard. Oh, there it goes, a fork-tailed drongo. And also, I just want to have a quick listen. The grass is incredibly long down here in Cheetah Plains at the moment, so it makes finding leopards that much harder. If I was quarantined, where would I go? Oh, but before we go anywhere, we've got a red-billed hornbill that's dust bathing. Oh, no, he's finished dust bathing now. Come on, give us a little dust bath. Maybe he's found something to eat there as well. I can hear some testiculars alarm calling. And you can hear me smacking the biting flies. I just want to go check where those testiculars are alarm calling. As I said, I was hoping he might be up in a tree because it's so hot and humid. Not much of a breeze, but the breeze will be a bit better higher up. Oh, I mean, you can literally drive over a leopard without seeing it in this grass. Okay. So he's probably going to be in the shade. The one thing we will probably be able to see is where he's lying, where he has lain, because he would have flattened the grass if he's been there for an extended period. Okay, the testiculars are just over there. And while we travel through a sea of grass, we are fortunately in the vehicle, so we don't get too many ticks on us. But the ticks do like Tristan, so let's see how he's doing on bushwalk.
Indeed they do, Brent, and I'm probably covered in them. I'm actually too scared to even look down after the grass that we've walked into. I think it's going to be a problem that I'm going to deal with later, which is probably not the wisest call, because once they are embedded, then the damage is done, and that is the end of that. Now, what we've done is we've done a big loop around where we had his tracks going into this thicket over here, and there are no tracks coming out, and we had testiculars alarm calling and some southern black tits also alarm calling. So we're going to go back to where we had those and try and see. I think that maybe he was lying down close to where we originally saw the tracks coming off the road, and I think that he's maybe somewhere there. Like I say, we've checked very carefully all the way around us here and come all the way around this open clearing, and the road is really good. It's very sandy and soft, so if he had walked there we would have no doubt seen his tracks. So it means that he has to be somewhere in this area here. Now, unluckily for us, he's not lying nicely out in the open, which would have been a very nice thing for us, because it would have been easy. It seems like he has tucked himself in the thickets up ahead here, so I'm hoping that maybe we'll bump into him under one of these bushes somewhere, or try and see if we can see him there. Now, I'm going to just slowly walk along, and Rex is up ahead of me and he's checking on the road just to make sure that he hasn't crossed out while we've been walking around. It's possible that maybe he saw us and has moved a little bit and changed direction, but his general direction was going sort of a southwesterly direction, which is the way that we are pretty much traveling at the moment. So hopefully we'll find some sort of sign of him. Now, it actually might be a good time to grab a bush to deal with the ticks that could potentially be on me. Now, I was just looking around, and now that Brent reminded me, I really actually don't want to go through the itching and scratching, and so there is a tree here which is absolutely perfect for getting rid of ticks. Now, I'm going to just try and break a branch quickly. So the guarri bush, which is this one here, this is called a magic guarri, and the magic guarri is differentiated from the Natal guarri, which you also get here by having the wavy leaf structure. And this plant is absolutely perfect for getting rid of ticks. It's got a nice covering of leaves, and so you just basically beat yourself, which sounds silly, but it really does work quite well. Now I can see there are one or two little ticks on here, so getting rid of them is perfect. Craig, you want me to beat you? I know that Brian got beaten by Brent the other day. You're okay. Okay. Lou says Craig needs a bit of a beating, and Craig, you've got so many ticks on you, I think it's a better idea that we do this. There we go. Craig, now you're going to be happy. You're not going to itch tonight. It's going to be a much better endeavor to do. But I think Rex is still going on ahead of us, and still no more sign of the leopard coming out yet, so he has to be somewhere in here. Now, I have my money on he's on a termite under a tree, termite mound with a tree growing on top of it, and he's in the shade of that termite mound. That's where I think he's going to be. Like I say, with the breeze that we have, which is really quite nice now that we're up and out in the open, there's a nice little breeze coming along and it feels much cooler. Also, the sun is starting to set behind me, so it's a lot better. Deborah, you want to know when Tingana took over? Well, it was suppose takeover is a difficult term because Mvula got shifted very far east before he actually became nomadic. What happened was Tingana used to be the dominant male in the western sectors, so he was dominant around Elephant Plains, Simambili, used to go into a property called Ottawa and down into Londolozi. And then Anderson started to arrive, which was, I think Anderson was first seen in about 2012, 2013, somewhere there, and he started to come and push more and more and more, and as he started to arrive, so Tingana started to then shift further east, which pushed Mvula further east, and Mvula then eventually ended up being dominant around in Koro and those areas, and no longer as much around Djuma. And I think the final kind of takeover and the end of it all, when Mvula sort of started to become nomadic and no longer hold a territory, was actually when Quarantine and Shivambalana moved into Nkoro area, and then Mvula started changing his habits, which was mid 2015 going into end of 2015, around that area, and by the beginning of 2016 he was pretty much nomadic and moving around in very odd places and no longer doing his territorial markings, and by midway through 2016 he was completely out of it, and like I say, we hardly saw him from then on. Sightings of him just dipped completely from the beginning of 2016 towards the mid 2016, and by the end of 2016 we hardly saw him anymore. So unfortunately that's how it happened, but good to still see him around. Now, I was saying earlier that I think he's going to be lying on a termite mound. Now this would be the perfect place that I would think that he would go to. He's not here obviously because we're here and there's no sound, but this would be the perfect kind of idyllic place for a leopard. Now if I was him, this is where I would have come. You've got this mound, you've got all these trees and thickets on the edge of an open clearing, so he's going to be able to see any sort of prey items that came, but it would also be really shady, and if anything came that could be like a predator like lions or hyenas, he has a really nice tree to go into, so this would have been a good place for him to come. Who knows, maybe he was here and moved off when we approached. So well, what there is a whole bunch of green pigeons that have just flown out there, so that's quite nice. Now, I'm just trying to see if there's any signs of fruits on this scotia, but there isn't. So sometimes the green pigeons go into these trees when there's some sort of fruiting, but there's none there today. Alright, so now we've got some exciting news. We're going to carry on trying to find Mvula, but I believe Brent has found the other spotted cat that occurs here, so let's go over to him and see what they're up to.
Well, we were looking for a leopard and we've stumbled upon a cheetah. And blacksmith lapwings who are not impressed with having a cheetah around their waterhole, making lots of noise. Now this is quite exciting. We're here at the right time of the day, and hopefully he goes east from here, not north, because the boundary is not too far away. They are such beautiful, beautiful animals, and such a treat to spend time with them. You can see it's hot and humid, and that's why he's breathing so heavily. Panting away. And we haven't seen them in so long. You can actually see the claws there. And you can see how, unlike lion and leopard, who are able to retract their claws, cheetah can't. Are we fools? There we go. And also, proportionate to their sort of body size and weight, they've got very big feet. And this is also obviously an adaptation for that incredible speed they are capable of. Of course, we are being serenaded by monotonous larks saying, "There's the cheetah, there's the cheetah, there's the cheetah." Remember, hashtag Safari Live if you have any questions about this beautiful spotted cat. Now, you can see those very distinct black tear marks down its face, and unlike lions and leopards that have lighter, almost white around their eyes for trying to gather as much ambient light as possible, the cheetah has dark black, and that's to help refract the harsh light of the middle of the day. Now, they will hunt at any time. They're like all predators, they are opportunists, but their favorite time to hunt is at dusk and dawn. They are crepuscular hunters. And you can see their head is far more rounded and less elongated than the other cats, and that is again another design for speed. Of course, Mary and lots of other people are wondering whether the Cheetah brothers have been reunited. Well, we haven't seen them reunited for quite some time now, well over a month, maybe even a bit longer than that. So they might have, they might not have. You must remember they spend most of their time outside of our traverse area, so we don't get to follow them as much as we would like. I can't really see how full he is just the way he's lying at the moment. Hello, Logan. Logan wants to know, what is a cheetah's success rate to making kills? They're slightly higher than the lion and leopard, probably around 20%, but they lose a lot of their kills to other predators. Hyenas, lions, leopards, wild dogs will all chase them off a kill. I've even seen vultures chase cheetah off a kill. They are so finely designed for speed that any slight injury could put a real big risk to their hunting. So most times they will avoid conflict and rather run away. I think whoever came up with the saying "scaredy cat" was after seeing a cheetah take off after seeing a male lion. Now, if I was a cheetah, I would also take off. It's flipped over. I wonder which way he's going to go today. There are quite a lot of people who will want to see this, so we will stay for as long as possible. Now, a cheetah's top speed is about 110 kilometers an hour, and I can keep that up to about 500 meters or so, and not much longer than that. And Reese was wondering what is their acceleration speed, and they go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3 seconds. So pretty quick. I don't think there's many high-performance vehicles that would be that fast. What? Oh, there's well, Dave says there's a Strongololo walking past that cheetah. Yes, there it is. Definitely not as fast as a cheetah, but a cheetah's not going to try to eat that. Okay, well, we're going to move around to the other side of him. It would be lovely to see a female cheetah one of these days. So they are highly nomadic till they have cubs, and when they have cubs, they do stay in an area for a bit longer. Now, there's a strong possibility that Mr. Quarantine's also very close by. So who knows, maybe we could see 2 spotted cats in one sighting. The first time I ever saw cheetah on Safari Live was they were being chased. It was one of these, or there's these cheetah. Whoop, that's the fun about long grass at this time of the year. You can't see the stumps. No, we're okay now. Thanks, Dave. You shouldn't complain too much. I hit a stump, you fall off. I could make you fall off. There we go. Not too hungry. I love how flat they get to the ground. And of course, this is one of their defense mechanisms to stay hidden. And you can see how their head is often sitting up, and to another predator that's walking by at a distance, it might just probably look like a pile of elephant dung. That rounded head. Come on, spot some impala. If you go the way you're looking, there's often a herd of male impala. Susan is wondering, what is the lifespan of a cheetah? Well, it's pretty similar to the other big cats, but normally a little bit less. So a male cheetah 10 to sort of 13 years in the wild. Sometimes a little bit longer, sometimes a lot less. Now, the word cheetah actually originally comes from Hindi, and it means variegated. I'm just trying to listen. I thought I heard something, but no, I was wrong. So the sun is getting lower, so there's a strong possibility that he might be up and mobile. Now, while he's a flat cat, we're going to sit here, wait to see if he gets moving. And while we do that, let's see how Madam McCurdy is faring.
We're still bumbling. We're actually on our way now to check towards Sydney's dam and hope that we'll have some luck around there. But for the moment, it's very quiet. We did just bump into Tristan, so I had a quick chat with him. And I did see that they'd circled some more leopard tracks, what looked like leopard tracks as I briefly passed, so that's quite good. So we think, and Rexon was actually quite positive, he reckons he's just laying down not too far from where they are. So I'm just zipping along Aubrey's Road at the moment. I'm going to go towards Bivels or Cutline, then towards Sydney's Dam, have a squiz around there. I think after that we'll go past Triple M, just to make sure that Mvula hasn't crossed west. And it may be a bit strange to hear him going so far away out of his territory, but he's almost got to that age now where he's just living the fun life. He walks around, he doesn't often mark territory, he's not really calling and sort of vocally declaring that he has a territory. Yes, he hangs around up top there in the sort of northeastern corner. He likes that block. Him and Djuma obviously have an understanding, the two of them, that they love it around there. But other than that, there's not too many more male leopards up top there, so they've got quite a big area to themselves. I'm not sure what's further north and east of them as you get towards the Kruger, what leopards hang around there. But yeah, he actually lives quite a nice life at the moment. He feeds off of buffalo carcasses that lions have killed. You know, he has a great time. He's sort of it's like he's in temporary retirement. He's sort of in that in-between stages where he wants to work a little bit. Hang on, who is walking